Hi guys, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Okay guys, I've got an article here that I want to go through because I think this is something that's worth discussing. So we have here, XRP could reach $35 if Citi's 5.5 trillion projection for the tokenization market plays out. Okay, very interesting. So first and foremost, let's get into Citi. So if you don't know who Citi are, it's Citigroup. They're basically a financial institution. They're a bank. They do wealth management. They do investments. So very much within the financial field. They're pretty much a big deal. So obviously them making these projections doesn't mean it's going to be a guarantee, but they know what they're talking about. They're within this industry. They're within the financial sector. So they're definitely going to have some good informative perspective here. So long story short, we'll just quickly get into what they were saying. They was just talking about, the tokenization market, and they're saying it could be 5.5 trillion in tokenization. I think they're saying by 2030, if I remember rightly. Now, there was someone else from Franklin Templeton who actually said, hey, that could actually be quite conservative. We actually think it could be much bigger than that. And look, I'm not here to say whether that's right or wrong, but what I'm saying is I can understand their point, because 5.5 trillion, it sounds like a lot in general, but what you've got to understand is everything in the world is going to be tokenized eventually. Anything of value basically is going to be tokenized. So yes, 5.5 trillion sounds like a lot, but when you think about everything that's going to be tokenized, it's going to be a lot bigger than that. It's going to be much bigger than that. So like when I think about it in the grand scheme of things, 5.5 trillion, I would say is conservative. I would agree with that. So let's just stick with the 5.5 trillion though, because that's what this has been based on. So what's actually happened is there's basically just some models that have been done to estimate what could lead to XRP's price value based on this 5.5 trillion projection, right? Now, the first thing I'll say is this. XRP currently has 2.28%, if I remember rightly, of the current tokenization market, okay? So obviously it's not 100%. So what you do need to understand with this 5.5 trillion, they're not saying that XRP is going to have that whole 5.5 trillion, which I think is a fair assessment to make, because tokenization isn't just happening on XRP alone. So just understand that when they're saying this whole like $35, if you're thinking, well, like that's assuming XRP is going to get all that money. No, they're not actually basing it on XRP getting all that money. So understand that like this is based on XRP getting a percentage of this. And this is where, some of these predictions could be higher or lower, right? Because they could get a higher percentage, or they could over time get a lower percentage. But we'll go through the three projections here. They've done three models to base XRP's price potential, and I'll go through each one and just let you know what my thoughts are. Okay, so as I say, there's three models that we have here that they've done their valuations by for XRP's price. So we've got model 1, which is direct proportional growth. So this model assumes that the current relationship between XRP's price and the tokenized value on its ledger scales linearly. As adoption and asset representation grow, investor speculation and utility demand increase at the exact same rate. So this is the model that gives XRP a price prediction of $35.43. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one. So the next one is obviously model 2, which is institutional utility compression. So currently XRP's market cap is roughly 17.5 times larger than the value of the tokenized assets on its network. This indicates that the current price is heavily driven by speculation premiums. As the market matures by 2030 and transitions into a highly efficient, institutionally driven environment, this ratio will likely compress as the network relies more on organic utility. That's kind of things like gas fees, automated market makers, and collateral, rather than pure speculation. And this gives XRP a price of between $10.11 to $20.23. Okay. And then we've got the third model, which is pure value absorption, which is the base floor model. This is a highly conservative model. It assumes that speculative demand vanishes completely and the market capitalization of XRP only increases by the exact net dollar amount of new tokenized value brought onto the ledger. And this gives XRP a price value of $3.09. Okay, so let's go through each one then. So the first one we've got is the direct proportional growth. Do I think that this one could be a valid model? Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what you're talking about here is just basically, it's basically just growing in proportion with the current market, right? That's what they're basically going by on this. They're just assuming things continue to grow the way they are and continue building, value over time. So just more and more tokenized stuff happens. Also adding in speculation as well. So that's the other thing, which, look, I do think when it comes to investing in general, I think speculation will always play a part in this. And this is what you've got to understand. Like, it doesn't matter what you're in, you're always speculating, right? Like, even if you invest in a stock or gold, right, you're speculating that the price is going to go higher. So you're always going to have speculation as part of the thesis as to why you invest. So obviously what they're talking about here is more like speculation on things going better and things going, further to the positive with XRP's future. So that's what they're talking about here. I agree, because I think at the end of the day, like, even in the stock markets, you do have bull runs, right? But with a stock market bull run, the percentage gains are way lower, right? So obviously in crypto, the percentage gains are much better in a bull run, which is why a lot of people have now come to crypto. So at the end of the day, like, there's always going to be bull runs, even if crypto does get to a point where it's much more like the stock market, which I do think will eventually happen, because there'll be so much more money in it that to move the tokens, it'll take a lot more. Like, the reason why the asset class is so volatile right now is because there's way less money in it than there is like the stock market. But eventually, crypto will become huge, more widely adopted. And I think that's just going to lead to it being way less volatile. But there will still always be speculation, because the people who, think XRP is a good asset will speculate that it's got more potential future growth, right? So I still think speculation will play a part. I'll say this. I've checked out, XRP going to like $35. And to be honest with you, like, if we was to have, let's just say we were to have a proper bull run at some point with an alt season, a real alt season rally, $35 is possible in just a normal bull run. So if we're talking about adding actual utility into this, I think that's completely plausible, because it can do that on just speculation alone. Like, if we go by past bull runs that we've had and alt seasons that we've had, $35 for XRP isn't like a hype number. It's actually plausible. So I definitely think there's merit to this one. Okay, so moving to the second one, institutional utility compression. So this is basically basing it more on utility rather than just speculation, like going more with the utility. So it's dropping it down a bit more, which is going with the $10 to $20. So as I say, I think the thing for me is the reason why I would go more with Model 1 at the moment is just simply because I do think speculation will always play a part. Like, I think at the end of the day, like, as I said, if you look at a stock, right, if you look at, for example, Tesla, you're speculating when you got into Tesla early or Amazon early, you're speculating that it's going to do well, right? You're speculating that I think this is going to be a company that will do well, and then you invest in it. So speculation will always play a part. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think because of how new crypto is and how easy it is to invest, I do think it's kind of like speculation on steroids, because obviously we see these bull runs with the crazy money. It's very different right now because, there's way much more opportunity, and that's why I think a lot of people come to crypto. So I do think, like, if we get to over time where when it's way less volatile, do I think there will be as much money in it? No, probably not, because there won't be as many people coming to throw their money in, because there's not as much growth potential, right? So not to say that you won't still make money, but the percentage gains won't be as high, right? But I do think that speculation will always be there. So I do think, while yes, it's good to kind of look at it from a utility aspect as well, I always think that the speculation is going to be there. Do I think that utility could be the stronger driver? Well, yeah, because I do think after a while, like right now, crypto's so new that a lot of people are just going, like, they're just chasing green candles, right? They're just trying to make a quick buck. I think eventually, as we get like the Clarity Act and stuff like that, I think you're going to get to a point where you're going to see which networks are going to stand the test of time, and people will be investing on the networks that they feel are basically here for the long term, you know. So kind of like how you have stocks, you have what you call blue chip stocks, and these are the ones where you can feel comfortable. Like if you invest in Amazon today, you're not really worrying that Amazon is just going to go away tomorrow, right? If you invest in like Facebook and these companies, you don't really look at these companies and think these could be gone tomorrow, right? But that's why, you know, the percentage gains on them are a lot lower, because they're kind of safe bets, right? Like you're not worrying about them going away. So they're going to be there, but it's going to be like slow, gradual growth. Whereas if you invest into like a new company, there's the chance that that company doesn't succeed, but there's also the chance that that company is wildly successful, and that could make you way more money because you got in really early. So that's the way it works, right? So I think eventually it'll become like that. Like it could be XRP becomes like a blue chip crypto, and they think, okay, very safe here, you know, very comfortable, but not as much percentage gains. But it's still there, right? The percentage gains are still there. So I still think there's going to be speculation to that degree. Again, $10 to $20. I mean, guys, we've been thinking about these kind of numbers in this bull run as a potential, right? So again, I definitely think this is possible, right? Whether we will actually hit those numbers, you know, obviously I don't know for sure, but I'm just saying that these are plausible numbers in a bull run. Like I wouldn't turn around to you guys and say XRP is going to hit like $500 this bull run. I just wouldn't say that because I just don't think that's plausible. But if you used to say like $10 to $20, $30, I'd say, yeah, I don't know if it's going to hit that, but that is definitely something that could happen. It's plausible to happen. Okay, so the third model that we're talking about here. So this is the highly conservative model, and I'd say that to say the least. So it says it assumes speculative demand vanishes completely, and the market capitalization of XRP only increases by the exact net dollar amount of new tokenized value brought onto the ledger. Yeah, so for me with this one, I'll be honest with you, like $3.09, like let's be realistic. XRP's already hit that like literally at the end of 2024. So it's hit that without even any of the tokenization going on right now. So to say like that's going to be its final price model, I'd say it's very conservative. If anything, I'd say you're being more like, you know, pessimistic. I'd say you're being a bit more negative about XRP's future, to be honest with you, because if XRP was like $3 in, you know, literally like in 2025, what's to make you think that it's only going to get that high with all this tokenization going on as well? So like that's where I'll be honest with you, with this one, I'd say it's probably the most flawed. I think it's the most unlikely scenario. But look, I do like that they've tried to give all aspects here. They've given you like a best case scenario and a worst case scenario and a middle ground. So it's not that I'm knocking it. Like I think it's good that they're trying to show, you know, all angles of where this could go. But I just think personally, I think Model 3 is like the least likely, just because, you know, even here it says speculative demand vanishes. As I said before, everything is based on speculation. There's always going to be speculation. So in my mind, even when you talk about utility bull run and things like that, it's still people investing based on speculation of that utility, right? Like it's, yes, this utility is happening, which is helping, but more people invest because they're saying like, oh, yeah, XRP is doing all this. That's good. That looks good. So clearly XRP is a good asset. Oh, all these banks are using XRP. Oh, great. All these tokenizations happen with XRP. Let me invest in it. So there's always going to be speculation in my opinion. So that's why I say with this one, I think because it's literally just putting it down to just utility alone, I think that's why clearly it's so low. But I just don't think that's how it works. I always think there's going to be speculation at play. So yeah, for me, that's the least likely one. I mean, to me, Model 1 and 2, I think both are fair. I think most Models 1 and 2 are fair, in all honesty. I think Model 1, just in regards to like going more with keeping speculation in, because at the end of the day, we know how investing works in general. People come in and, you know, like you get the fickle investors who just want to make a quick buck. And at the end of the day, if you get those guys in a bull run, they will just throw money at anything that's moving because they're just hoping to make money. It's that trying to get the lottery ticket, right? And so I always think there's going to be people who would do these kinds of things, who will just come in and just see something's doing well and then just throw some money into it. So I always think the speculation will be there. And then you've got the people who might be more informed, like they'll invest into it on speculation, but speculation of, I've done my research on this token, on this crypto, and I really believe in its future, so I'm going to invest in it for the long term, you know. So that's still both speculation, you know what I mean? Whether it's short term or long term, it's speculation. But I think that's always going to play a part. So yeah, I thought I'd share this with you, but I mean, $35, as I say, like, I think that can be accomplished in a bull run. Like, I'm not saying it will happen, but I think that's possible. So that number to me is fair. Like, you know, they've not gone wild with the number. You know, it's not like they've said $1,000 or something like that. Like, $35 is a very reasonable number, to be honest with you. So yeah, to me, I think it's good that they've done this. It seems a bit more grounded. So yeah, obviously we don't know how all this is going to play out. Like, none of this is guaranteed. These are just, you know, predictions. It's like analysis that are leading to predictions. So they are still just predictions, but all I'm saying is, you know, the numbers are fair. The numbers are reasonable. They're not hype numbers. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. But guys, let me know your thoughts, because I'd be interested to see what you think. Like, do you think the $35 sounds plausible? Do you think it's unrealistic? You know, just let me know what you guys think. Alright, I'll leave it there. If you did like this video, please remember to like, comment and subscribe so you can be updated for future XRP content. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can be alerted on when I do drop a new video. Thank you very much for watching this, and I'll see you all on the next one.